Welcome to the Wildcast Podcast, coming to you from Wildcast Studios, with your hosts Adam Lund and Jeremy Boucher.
Oh, welcome back to Wildcast Studios for another episode of the Wildcast Podcast, your unofficial voice for all things Moncton Wildcats. As always, fan listeners, I am your host, Adam, and I am joined by Avery's favorite person and my favorite co-hoster, Mr. Jeremy Boucher. But how was your daddy-daughter weekend?
It was pretty good. It involved a lot of running around.
Yeah, as it always does.
Yeah. So we didn't do much Friday night, but Saturday there was, her last swimming class. And
Did she pass?
No.
Oh, okay.
But there's 4 things that needs to be passed to move on to the next level. She's got 2, so, that's fine.
That's not bad.
No, we did a bunch of swimming, went to a Christmas market at her place, and the great part about it is by 8 o'clock, you're like, what the heck do I do? Because she's sleeping.
Yep.
So instead of watching sports, like a sports guy like myself would do,
Right.
I binged watched the season of Manifest on Netflix.
I don't think I've seen that one.
So Manifest is probably the only show that toys with my emotions. It's a roller coaster.
Yeah.
It's a really good show. There's like 10 episodes, and I started Friday night and finished up Sunday night. So I binged it. That's
impressive.
Literally all I watched all weekend was Manifest, and it's like 4 seasons right now, all on Netflix. Really good show. Didn't watch any of the Grey Cup.
Yep.
Watched some of the Monktonian. Listened up to you and Mr. Sanderson on a few occasions.
Yep. It's a good time.
And other than that, her and I just chilled, and she ate my food, which is good. She seemed to enjoy it.
Yeah. And you didn't just go... Did you go out for breakfast or anything after the swimming?
No.
No?
Did we? No.
'Cause that was always my favorite to do with Haley, is take her out for breakfast. A, because I'm not a great cook, and she would tell you that. But B, if we didn't cook where she would cook, because she enjoyed doing it as a kid, like helping out around the kitchen, we'd usually go out for breakfast because it's kind of special.
Yeah. No, I think we went to McDonald's after the market, and then I made her pancakes Sunday morning.
Nice.
That was about it. It's a pretty laid back weekend, and yeah, the wife came home with a bunch of leftovers, so it's the fridge is quite full right now.
Beauty. I didn't watch any TV because I didn't have any time to watch TV. Obviously, when the snow comes in my job is at Honda. It's quite a bit busier. I'm there till about 6. We had a meeting before we recorded, and then we had a event on Wednesday, so I was there till like 8 o'clock, and then the Wildcats game on Thursday, coupled with the Monktonian with Mike, which thank you to the Moncton Flyers for the pass that we gave away to Justin Hadley as well. Thank you for allowing me to do that. Whether you bring me back again, I don't know after Sunday's game. But, yeah, man, I spent so much time at the rink, 3 games in 3 days. I can't imagine the players, because for a broadcast guy, going home and trying to prep to get ready for info on all these players is crazy. But, I mean, it is a one-stop shop for scouts. And that top prospects game, I was sitting right center ice, kind of underneath the media booth thing, and to my left was every scout you could think of, not just Q. There was NCAA was there. I think there was a couple Western, D1 schools, D2 schools, maybe a few Western schools. Leduc had a pretty good showing, which was cool to see. They went all the way to the quarterfinal, but a lot of hockey. I actually felt guilty. Layla had planned to go somewhere for the weekend, and I was like, yes. And then she didn't, and I actually felt guilty because I was just spending so much time at the rink. It was a lot of hockey, but yeah, I was as much as I wanted them to continue on.
Yeah.
Getting up at 8:45 for me. I mean, 10 o'clock, I was like, really? I'm sleeping till 10, and I don't have kids right now, but I'm just like, 10 o'clock, that's I'm not an early riser at all, morning person-wise. You are, though, right?
I am such a morning person,
yeah.
But at the same time, my body crashes at 8:30. So if you text me and I don't answer at 8:45, I'm probably sleeping.
My body wakes up at 8:45, and mostly, and I'm doing this too. And I didn't even watch. I watched the first couple minutes of the Grey Cup, the halftime show of the Grey Cup, and then the last 3 minutes in between commercials because the series finale of The Walking Dead was on.
Okay.
And let us watch that. I tried to get through it. I got to season 7, and it was the same thing over and over again. And I'm just like, I'm done. Like, they get stuck with 45 walkers, and all of a sudden they magically get out of it. I'm done. But yeah, it was the series finale of that. So I was like clicking back, trying to watch it, trying to follow it on Twitter, and it was quite the game. So shout out to Dave McKnight, who may be the only Argos fan that I know. And
Same thing.
when I moved out here, I didn't know a single Browns fan until I met Andy Jardine. I barely knew Bengals fans till Dave and Pat. So, you know, my horizons expanded with these teams that I didn't think had fans, right? Like, you don't think, I mean, the Argos have somewhat of a fan base, but not being in that market, you don't generally see it. But, I mean, Dave's had a pretty good year. Like,
Except for
the Bengals
Jays.
go, well, yeah, the Jays, but the Bengals go to the Super Bowl. That's a pretty decent run for them. And then the Argos win the Cup.
Yeah.
Like, La Coupe Grey.
La Coupe Grey.
So he's had a pretty good year, and it was crazy. I didn't think when I heard the stat the Argos haven't lost the Grey Cup in 30 years every time they get there. Like, God damn it.
Now this World Cup. You gonna watch any of the World Cup?
I will be watching Canada games when I get home from work because I know the first one is tonight, I think, at like 3.
Belgium?
Yeah, against Belgium. We watched the first one. God, I love reffing in the World Cup. But if you have a time to watch a show, watch the FIFA Corrupt on Netflix on how Qatar got the World Cup. It's like how corrupt the FIFA organization is, which allowed Qatar to get into the World Cup. And I'm not going to get into all of it. But they've already not allowed a few things. Bans for the players. They say one love on them with a rainbow. Automatic yellow card. A lot of human rights things. A lot of artists pulled out of the opening ceremonies. I saw one guy on Twitter. He was wearing a rainbow shirt. They wouldn't even allow him in because of that. It's just like, yeah, you don't deserve the World Cup. So I hope you go 0-3. But this isn't really a soccer podcast, right?
No, it's a hockey podcast.
It's a hockey podcast, so we should probably get talking to hockey.
Yeah, we should probably talk about hockey to make up for the lack of hockey talk last week.
All right. Well, again, thanks, Chris, for coming in and making our day enjoyable with the lack of hockey talk. As always, you can follow us on the social medias, Twitter for as long as it's around, Moncton Wildcast, Instagram Wildcast Podcast, TikTok The Wildcast Podcast, and now on YouTube, we're almost up to about 75 subscribers. Don't forget the live is this Friday and Sunday, so keep hitting that like and subscribe button so you don't miss anything. No quick question. We've got a couple guests, so we're going to go right into the news.
News and notes from around the queue. And
we're going to keep this short and simple because, again, we got 2 guests. We were going to have one, and then a second one just kind of appeared in our lap this morning. So the QMJHL Team of the Week, Samuel Savoie of Gatineau, 3 games, 4 goals, 4 assists, a +9. Zachary Dean of Gatineau, 3 games, played, 6 goals, 4 assists. Jordan Dume, which I think he's been on here almost every week. 3 goals in 5 assists in 3 games played. If that guy is not representing Canada in Halifax, I don't know what more he has to do.
Well, you know what?
He wasn't there last year, but I just don't know how you keep him off the. I don't know, especially in Halifax.
He's off to such a good start.
Yeah,
but at the same time, I mean, sure, he's probably going to get invited to camp. But it comes down to the depth, and you know, when you look at Craig Button, I mean, like him or not, I mean, he knows his.
He's
hockey,
dialed in.
He knows his depth charts. Dume is nowhere to be seen on Craig Button's depth chart.
Really?
So I don't know if that's how deep Canada's team is, or if he's just completely ignoring what this kid is doing in Halifax right now.
Because he's more in WHL.
Yeah,
which
he's
combination of A and B probably, but
yeah. So he will most definitely be at their development camp, but I just don't think there's room for him. I mean, next year, absolutely 110%, he'll be on the team, but I just don't see where he fits in.
Which is just crazy to think depth-wise. Defenseman David Spacek of the Phoenix, 3 games played, 2 goals, 3 assists, and Tristan Leno of Gatineau. 3 games played, 3 goals, 5 assists. And Tomas Kochor of Rouyn-Noranda, 1-0-0-1, a 9.44 save percentage, and a 1.92 goals against average, which leads to your player of the week in the queue, was Tristan Leno. 3 games played, 3 goals, 5 assists. Now we get to the good stuff. Your team of the week.
Well, mine's a little short again.
We're on the penalty kill again. We gotta be disciplined.
Yeah, we do have to be disciplined here, but maybe I can get one on the fly here. Sadly enough, my 3 forwards are the exact same 3 forwards as the Q.
It was bound to happen.
You just can't ignore what those 3 did this week.
Yeah.
It's when it comes to Sam Savoy and Zach Dean. I mean, Savoy he's been rolling in November. I mean, 16 points in 8 games, and Zach Dean is 15 in his last 6 games. You can't ignore that. Those are really good stats. And let's keep in mind that Gatineau is still without, Anthony Verneau, and I think there's one more I'm missing out, Mannix Landry.
Yep.
I think even Cole Cormier is hurt right now. So they're
didn't Anton Verreau took the warm up though?
I
believe he did. I think he took the warm up last game. So
he's
close.
But Jordan Dumais, the notes I have down here is not because of his 6-point performance or this or that. It is because against St. John Friday night he took a penalty, and
showed he's human.
That's only his 2nd penalty in the last 55 games.
Does the Q have a Lady Bing version?
So he was the most sportsmanlike player last year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he had a penalty Friday night. He had another one earlier this season, but prior to the one earlier in the season, it had been like 55 games since his last penalty.
Wow, good for him.
So he's pretty sportsmanlike by the looks of it. On my D, my first is Dylan Gill from Riverview, playing for Rouyn. I have him on my team he was interviewed by Rouyn's play-by-play team during our game against them Friday night, and I was impressed with his French-speaking ability. That's what I had put down here.
Right.
Because being from Riverview, I'm assuming he didn't go to a French high school. He would have went to Riverview High. And so maybe he was in French immersion, maybe he was not. But just his ability, his speaking was really good, and you can tell why he has an A on his jersey, because he has that ability to communicate in both languages, right? And I think that's a major part of why he's on the leadership group with the Huskies. And again, like I said, I only have 1D, so we're playing a little shorthanded here. My goalie is Thomas Couture, who we might possibly hear
at some point.
We're
hoping,
possibly in the next couple minutes.
Possibly, we're
and
hoping.
Maybe Friday night we might see him.
Possibly, we're hoping.
We're hoping. So. Obviously, winning against his former team Friday night is always a big feeling, and I didn't expect him to be on the Q team of the week as the goalie, but here we are.
Yeah,
I thought maybe that award would go to maybe like a Shatney, who has been playing well, or somebody, a goalie like that. But
Gatineau's goalie, when it looks like they took off and had a good week,
I don't know. I just didn't expect Couture to be on there. I expected the 3 forwards to be on there. But when Couture was on the team of the week, I was a little thrown off. But there we go. That's my team of the week. Shorthanded again. I'll try to come back next week with a full lineup. If I'm lucky, maybe we'll play with an extra attacker.
Oh, that'd be good.
We'll try to get the empty net. Try to tie the game late on next week's squad. So there you go. That's my team of the week. Or short-handed team of the week.
Short-handed team of the week. I like that. We got to get discipline. That's the second time we've taken a penalty in I think 4 weeks. So got to get more. Got to get more discipline.
What is it? Unnecessary touching? Is that the penalty in the NFL?
Yeah.
So we've got penalties here for unnecessary touching.
All All right, you want to talk about one of those special guests?
Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. So the Monktonian wrapped up this weekend, as we talked about in the intro. The Charlottetown Knights are your champions with a 4-3 victory over the Fredericton Caps. Like I said, the Flyers finished with a quarterfinal loss to the Vitoes in Game 3, which, when a tourney like this happens and Moncton's got a first-round pick in the top 10, hopefully a lottery pick at least, we start thinking about drafts, we start thinking about draft picks, and when we talk about the draft, not only is Jeremy an expert, we also want to bring another expert into this. So from Puck Preps, Braden Olson. Braden, how are you? How was your weekend? I'm sure you're just raring to go.
Yeah, hey guys, I'm doing good. The weekend was good. A lot of fun as always. The Monktonian's a great event. They really put it together well. Doesn't mean that I'm not bagged, because I am. I think a lot of guys can say the same, but nonetheless, great event and a lot of good information. I think I came away with probably just as many questions as answers yet, but that's what the rest of the year is for. So
yeah, I mean, you can't exactly move up or down the lineup too much when you're at after one tournament, but obviously we'll stay close to Moncton here, as I've been calling games for the Flyers now this season and did most of the games, which was a lot of hockey. I can't even imagine how much hockey you watched in the weekend, but just your thoughts on Zach Wheeler. I mean, we've got him as a top 5 pick in this year's draft. He hasn't really done anything to kind of drop out of that stock. So just give us your thoughts on Zach Wheeler.
Yeah, the Flyers, I mean, as a whole, are a fun team to watch. They're a tricky team to watch because they've got so much draft-eligible talent this year, but Wheeler's obviously at the forefront of that. With him, the first thing that you look at is his skating. The great thing I have to say about Zach's skating is that even since I've been watching him, and I know other guys who've been watching him longer, it has improved so much. And over the last 12 months, I think I'd seen him a little bit even previous summer, I should say. And his skating has come so far. Like, I remember a month ago, roughly, I guess, at the QMJHL Cup there in Dieppe. I saw instances of him burning away with some pretty good separation speed. He's really learned to use some different techniques in his stride and mix things up a little bit so that he's not so lethargic off the line. And that's really going to go a long ways for him to being that top 5, top 10 prospect for the draft this year. The big thing with him, though, I mean, the thing that is really his calling card, I think, is that he's so efficient with his stick in a defensive sense, but it turns into an offensive thing too for him, because, when he chooses to, when he realizes or when he recognizes there's an opportunity for him to rob an opponent of the puck, he does it, like I said, really efficiently. So he gets in there, he, quick stick lift or, just gets in there and mucks up and then grabs the puck and he's off. And he knows where to put it really quickly after that. So he's such a smart player that things like that just come naturally to him. And then on top of that, he's got the physical attributes to really enable all of that. And obviously that works for him in midget or in under 18. But I think because he's smart about it and he's efficient about it, I think that's what's going to make it work for him at the next level as well.
Well, I totally lost my train of thought there. Jeez. Oh, wow.
I took you on a journey.
Well, no, yeah. I literally have my question. I'm literally just, it's on the tip of my tongue and I can't think of it right now. Yes. Sorry. Okay, here we go. Wow, sorry about that. That doesn't usually happen. Last year when we had you on the show, Braden, you talked about Hudson Clark and you said if you didn't get drafted by the 7th or 8th round, I think you said you'd eat your socks or something like that.
Yeah.
Have you identified a player so far this year that you're willing to say the same thing about?
Well, the big thing with Clark, I think at that point in the year, we must have talked when, like April roughly.
I think it was around there.
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah.
But I think at that point with Clark, the thing was like he had come out on the central scouting list and he was continually ranked like a D. And I had seen other places, where he was sort of in that same range. And I really thought he was better than that. So we're not there yet. I don't even think we've seen the preliminary
That's true. Yeah.
CSR list.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say we haven't seen it yet because I feel like it always gets leaked out kind of slowly. So it's possible that it's out there already. I just haven't seen it yet. But anyways, I think by that time we were into like the 3rd or 4th revision of it. But I'm sure there will be a guy. The one that I'm kind of thinking right now that I hear more, and we saw kind of evidence of this too. I hear more knocks on than maybe praise, and I think it's sort of unjustified in a way. And that's Sam Alabi from Rossley Netherwood. Small guy, granted, but and I hear people say that he's not strong enough yet, but I think as an 07, this kid's 14 years old, maybe 15 by now. That will come in some form or another. He's not going to stay, 140 pounds, 5'6" or whatever he is right now. He is going to get bigger and maybe it's not substantially bigger, but it's going to come. But what I love about Alabi is he's not a non-skilled player. Like, he's a very strong, I shouldn't say very strong skater, but he has exceptional edge work. But he's also applying himself every single time he's on the ice. Like, the guy doesn't take a single shift off, and he always makes something different happen. So when I talk about his skating, I should say, like, he has small legs and he doesn't have the most powerful stride, but he has, he uses good crossovers. Like I said, extremely good edge work. One of the things that really jumped out to me at the Monctonian, and I've noticed from him a little bit in previous viewings as well, is that he always makes himself really available to his defenseman, breaking out of his own zone. And because he does that, some guys make themselves available to their defenseman really well, and then when they get the puck, it sort of dies or it slows down. But there is no lapse. There is no, choppiness. It's very smooth when he gets the puck, whether it's at the blue line or somewhere in the neutral zone. He doesn't lose any speed whatsoever. He's right back up to game speed using his edge work and navigating transition really well. And that follows through right into his zone entries and that sort of thing. I think he just does a generally good job of setting up plays using those kind of skills. And I think that has a really wide breadth, and I think he can expand his game from there quite a bit. So, like I said, I think there's he doesn't get the attention he deserves, I think, in a way. He's played a couple of years now under 18, played for Rossley Netherwood last year, did relatively well. I know the numbers aren't really coming for him yet, but he wasn't named to the All-Star team. I thought that was really surprising. He was probably one of the more surprising omissions for me. So I guess to answer the question really early in the year, Sam Alabi is probably the guy for me.
Well, we're gonna have to hold you to that and see if we can see if that name stays as we get closer to the draft. But I've never been one to proclaim I know scouting, and that's Jeremy's area. He usually takes care of that. But I was watching the prospect game, and it felt like a couple years ago when I watched the Canada games, and they kept talking about Josh Wall was the one, but they kept saying Zach Leroux, and I kept watching him. When I was watching the prospects game, a guy that stood out, and not just because of the red pants and helmet, from the Halifax Max, was Kenzie Wagner, the defenseman. He was very physical. He reminded me of Hamel here. He hit everything that moved all game long. So what do you see in a Kenzie Wagner? Because he already looks like he's got the physical tools. He was hitting everything that moves. And then just one other player is I'll go to the different player after you kind of give me your thoughts on Kenzie Wagner from the Max.
Sure. Well, Wagner is one of the guys that excuse me, that I came away from the tournament with not necessarily more questions than answers, but I felt like I wish I would have seen him a little more. Yeah. But obviously, yes, he had a good performance, I think, at the All-Star game. I'm not sure. I think it was probably the Max last game of the tournament where they lost to they lose out to Charlottetown.
I believe so. Yeah.
Remembering that right? Yeah. And I think he was really strong in that game as well. It starts with posture for him. It starts with strength. He's a lot bigger than I was sitting next to some of the kids at ice level there watching that game, and they were kind of I think they were referring to him or Luc Legier, but both of those guys, a lot of strength and just really intimidating presences on the ice already. As 14 or 15-year-olds, these guys were saying, these guys are 07s is what these kids next to me were saying, and I think they were a little worried about having to play against them. So that's where it starts for him. He's a force in front of the net, in front of his own net. But he's also, I think, pretty efficient the way he plays in front of his own net. He's not like the type of guy who's, burning up all his energy, battling when he doesn't really have to. He's kind of watching things happen as they as the play moves around his defensive zone. And he steps out when there's maybe an opportunity for him to get the puck. But he's ready to sort of pounce on, the net front guy for the opposition and neutralize him, whether it be, with a bit of a shoulder check or with a stick lift or whatever. He doesn't, like I say, he doesn't waste his energy just battling with him constantly and wearing himself down when there's a chance he gets pinned in. So I like that a lot. I thought he had pretty good reads coming out of his own zone, relatively quick, and usually on the tape, and with power too. So that was usually good. I thought where it sort of broke down for him in some cases was when he had to carry the puck himself. Sorry, guys, I got the phone ringing here. When he had to carry the puck himself, I thought, while his skating isn't bad, I think there were times when he could, sort of get one foot in front of the other a little too quickly, and he would sort of lose a step. So I don't necessarily see him as being like a dual transition threat. Mm-hmm. But certainly when it comes to making the pass out of his own zone, I think he did that really well.
Yeah, he was one of the players, like, you see the Max because they stand out with the blue and the red, but he just, as the game went on, he ended up playing against the line of Wheeler, Weber, and Shaw a lot of the time because he was physical mm-hmm. against Wheeler, and it kind of showed. When we had John in April, we talked about your top 10 list, and Gabriel Dag was not on it because you always have tough times evaluating goalies, so I don't know if you're able to, but a guy that stood out in the second half of that game again for Team Blue from the East Coast Blizzard is Connor Arnold. He was dynamite in that game for them, stopping everything that Team White was putting at him. Just, I don't know if you've got a read on Arnold or if you're still kind of shying away from goaltenders because they are one of the toughest positions to kind of evaluate.
Yeah, I brought that up in some puck preps discussions last year after Dag, and we sort of agreed again that goaltenders were going to be out of our scope, so to speak.
Dang it!
And it was unfortunate last year with Dag because he's probably one of the best prospects in Canada, if mm-hmm. let alone Eastern Canada. But no, with Arnold, I didn't pay a whole lot of attention to the details of his game, but I will say, like, with everyone I talked to over the weekend, his name was probably one of the ones that came up the most and from the most diverse group of people. Usually when you talk to 4 or 5 guys, you hear, and you do hear different names, of course, but his name was one that came up pretty much every time quite consistently. So that's the best I have to say about him in terms of praise and in terms of his game. So that's good.
So that we've kind of seen, you mentioned you were at the QMJHL Cup there last month, I believe it was, and then most recently Monktonian. So we've kind of got an idea of what's out there for Atlantic prospects. So with the Canada Games coming up here in a few months, how do you think these Atlantic provinces will figure against the big provinces like the Quebecs and the Ontarios and the West teams?
Yeah, well, I still don't really have a great understanding of how the pools are going to be distributed. It may be published for all I know, but I haven't had a good look at it. But I think the way that things are going to shake out early is that you'll see provinces like PEI and Newfoundland probably playing against the territories, is if I understand it right. Like, they're mm-hmm. not going to be pooled in with like the Albertas, the BCs, Ontario, that sort of thing. But Nova Scotia and New Brunswick might see a little more of that up front. And that's where it's going to be interesting, because I think Nova Scotia and New Brunswick are the best that the Maritimes have to offer this year, or Atlantic Canada has to offer this year. And if they get, pooled in with a Quebec or an Ontario or a BC or an Alberta or, anyone like that, it could be a quick tournament for them, maybe. But I think there's a lot to like about both those provinces. I think they could, I think they could compete with some of the powerhouses. I'm not super familiar with what the rosters look like outside of Quebec. Quebec's going to have a good team. They are going to be missing Zach Moran. He's not going to be on their roster, so that's a big loss for them. I think they've been well aware of that, though, for some time. But I would say, I would kind of give the edge to Nova Scotia. I think for a couple of reasons. They obviously won the Q Cup, but I think New Brunswick was just as good of a team at the Q Cup. Some of the guys that I liked for Nova Scotia, have continued with their momentum since that time. And then some of the guys who I thought could stand to improve since the Q Cup at the Monctonian, I thought were really good. So like guys like Max Darcy, Rory Pilling, both those guys I thought had a little bit slower starts to the season, and both were really good at the Monctonian. So I think that's kind of a testament to, they were already good at the Q Cup. And I think some of their guys have taken strides already. So that's a positive sign for them.
Well,
New Brunswick's going to, get Liam Kilfoyle back for the tournament. Zach Wheeler's obviously going to be there. Landon Paul, also coming back from Kimball Union. So they'll probably have a good tournament too. Like I said, it sort of depends on who they get slotted in with. If they're in one of those powerhouse divisions, it's going to be a grind. That's all I'll say. But I wouldn't rule either of the teams out.
Well, if I know anything about Alberta, they're just going to be tall and big. Leduc was here, and there's half of the team was over 6 foot. They had the Leduc Bash brothers, as I called them. 2 of their players were 6'2", 2 something, like just big boys.
Yeah.
And Alberta always has big teams.
Yeah, that's right. Another team I noticed like this weekend that was just huge. Like I was going to text someone from Newfoundland and just ask them, like, what are you guys feeding them up there? Like, I'm talking about the Growlers, I guess, but like I'm sure that team's average height is above 6 foot. It's got to be. Like, you see a lot of teams out there that have, there's a couple defensemen sub 5'6", sub 5'7" kind of thing, but I don't think there's anyone that small for the Growlers. They were a huge team.
And I guess I noticed you tweeted the Lane Sim Michigan goal, which, I mean, you can't go anywhere these days without seeing a Michigan goal. It's just it's almost like common these days. But I'm not sure if you'd know this, but any indication whether he's going to be a Q or if he's going to follow his brother and go to the OHL?
I'll throw a wrench in it. I think there's a third option on the table for him. And before I go there, maybe a quick note on that goal is that, like, this is just kind of a testament to how wild that tournament is. Like, I'm buzzing around in the morning, I think that one was, and there's just a time in the day where I was like, I don't know which game of these 4 I want to watch right now. So I'm kind of walking around trying to find a spot to stand, find a spot to sit. And it was just getting really crowded at that time. So I just pulled up to rink D or C, I think. And I'm like sitting in the back kind of watching, and Sim was on the ice. He was the first person I kind of locked onto. And I noticed him behind the net, and it wasn't, 10 seconds after I walked up to the ice that he pulled that. So I tweeted it out right away. And then of course I get the comments, where's the video? I'm thinking, I'm at the rink, I don't have the video handy, but so I walked down to another rink and I'm watching another game, and I pull the video up and get the screen clip and get it. But anyways, back to your question. I think I don't really have a solid answer for it, but the wrench I was going to throw in is that I've heard that there's a chance he's considering national team development program in the U.S. as well. I believe, if I understand it right, he was born in the U.S. when his dad was playing pro, so that option could be available to him. So that'll be really interesting. I think on the site right now, if you guys are familiar with the site, so we do show like what our sort of projections are for players, and I think right now, just after some of the intel I guess I got over the weekend, we've changed our projection to 33 between the Q, O, and NCAA. So I think they're all on the table right now for them.
Huh.
Good to know.
Hey, cut Jeremy
yeah,
off.
it's unfortunate because I think he's one of the best players in Atlantic Canada, and it would be great to see him stick around and play in the Q. But right now, I'm saying we've got a 33% chance.
Yeah, you caught Jeremy off guard, that's for sure. But we'll let you get out of here. Just tell people where they can follow some of your knowledge on these prospects as we get closer to the trade deadline, where some of them will swap, and then as we get into the Q draft here, and hopefully a live Q draft, and we can actually meet up and put a name to the face.
You bet. Yeah. Well, if I'm in the rink too, when you guys are calling one in the Superior Propane Center there, I'll buzz over sometime this year too. But yeah, you could find me personally on Twitter at Olaf, OLAF 1393. You can also follow Puck Preps on Twitter. There's a main account, Puck Preps. There's also our Eastern Canada account, Puck Preps East Can. Or you can just head over to the website. I think, like, personally, I know it sounds biased, or it sounds like kind of a homer, plug, but I think our websites are a really great resource in terms of the way the rankings are are put together, and the information, it's all kind of consolidated in one spot. Some neat info, some neat tools to play around with, and that's just puckpreps.com. So any of those for sure.
Perfect, man. Well, again, yeah, thanks for taking the time to give us some info, and who knows, maybe we'll meet you at one of these tournaments. Maybe I can convince Jeremy we can go to the Ice Jam, and we'll all just kind of scout together.
Yeah, you bet. That'd be great, guys. Well, thanks for having me on, and have a great night.
Yeah, you too. Thanks.
Man. Thanks.
It's always good talking prospects, and like I said to him, like I think we need to go to the Ice Jam, bro. I was thinking about that when I was doing the Monktonian a whole bunch. I was like, maybe I can get Jeremy on board. We'll take the new Mazda on the first road trip, and we'll go to the Ice Jam, which I think is in January. But
the all-season performance tires on the highway.
Yeah, all right. Maybe we'll take the RAV4 with winter tires on the highway. But you know what? It might not be snowing by then. But it would be cool to go to a tournament like that with you and just kind of pick a few players to watch, and at least pick a few, because like I said, when we drafted LaRue and we knew there was a draft and I could see players, I knew who I kind of wanted to identify. I don't know where Kenzie Wagner's going to fit, but it was just a player that I just kept watching other players, and you just kept watching him, right? And that's kind of what scouting is all about.
Yeah, I mean, the limited Monctonia that I watch myself, I mean, I've got a few names written down myself. I'll pull up my trusty information here.
Trusty information, perfect.
Jack Hayden from Cape Breton West, Luke Dooley from Cole Harbour, Aiden McCullough from Freddie, and obviously one of the best names in the tournament, Maddox Mermelak.
Yeah, he was pretty good on that in that game.
I mean, the obvious ones are Owen Conrad and Noah Collette. Like, those are obvious, picks. But
yeah, Lane Sim was another one you told me to watch.
Oh, Lane Sim is he's a talent.
Yeah.
But as we just learned, it's not just a CHL option. I'd like to. Unfortunately, his Elite Prospects page, his prospects page, is not updated. It doesn't show his place of birth, but I'm gonna take Braden's word for it. And
his dad was Pittsburgh and Minnesota, right?
His
John
dad,
Sim, Devils.
Yeah, John Sim. So he played at Atlanta Thrashers during 2007, and I think also the Islanders.
Oh, okay.
So I think he was on the Thrashers in the 2007-08 season. Then I think he was with the Islanders on the 2006-07 season.
So in and around there somewhere.
He's in. If he was in fact born in the U.S., I mean, yeah, he's eligible for the development program, which would be even. I mean, that's we're
seeing the guy down there right now doing good things with that development program.
Yeah, so that would be quite the step. I mean, that's good for him if he gets to that point. Yeah,
and that's one of the things Mike and I talked about off the air before we were doing the games. Like, it's not just the Q guys that are scouting. Like, there's different avenues, whether you're going D1 or you're going the development program or you're going different ways. It's not always what fans and of teams want when they see these players. It's what's best for the player and what's best for the player's family. And if it's if it's the Q, if it's the O like his brother, or if it's the U.S. national development team, I mean, that development program is doing some excellent things down there for the States. And, Cole Eiserman is lighting it up for that team. So definitely something to, hopefully he's playing here. And by here, I don't mean Moncton. I mean in the Q, so we can kind of see players like that. But we might as well talk about our team, eh?
Yeah, it is a Wildcats podcast.
It is in the title. All right.
View from the other bench.
Nope.
Crap.
Weekly Rewind.
All right. Well, again, I can't wait for this month to be over. Again, the Wildcats go 1-2, losing to Blainville 6-1. Then they go into Rouyn-Noranda against Thomas Couture, and the Huskies losing 3-2, which, I was talking to Marty Kingston, and then obviously they went to Val-d'Or. They salvaged 2 points out of that one, getting a 4-3 victory. I was talking to Marty. He came into Moncton Honda to get his winter tires. And
Mr. Kingston,
he was saying, I mean, they played well in Rennes. They had a chance to get the victory there, but I came home from work, saw the Blainville game, saw the first goal, went up to shower after work, came down, it was 3-1. I was like, well, I'm going to get ready for the Monctonian on Thursday, and it just snowballed. And they kind of got into a situation where they got into penalty trouble again. I think they had 9 penalties in that game. Like it's becoming a thing. If they first of all, it's becoming a thing.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 consecutive penalties they took in that game.
That we took, yeah.
Yeah, that can't happen, and especially against a team like Blainville, who I mean.
So if we took 8 penalties, what did Lawrence have 8 goals?
I don't know. Did we say that to not take penalties because he's a power play specialist? But Blainville has underperformed so far this year, but I think they're starting to find their stride. And we just got them on a bad game. I mean, it's this game. It's we scored the first goal. Albeit it was Anthony Hamel, who I think
snipe
absolute like a rocket from the blue line,
who's now tied his career high in goals.
Yep. So we got the first goal in that game, and if I'm not mistaken,
first goal in the Val-d'Or game.
And I don't know, I'll quote my mother here. God bless her soul, Kathy. Statistically, the team that scores the first goal wins the game. Well,
ish, yeah.
Not this case. Not in these case. I mean, not in that Blainville case. I mean, it went completely downhill, and it was a train wreck from everybody.
Yeah.
From the goaltending to the D to the forwards, it was a mess. It was a mess. You'd think this team would want to put on a good performance to thank Mr. Irving for taking them to a game in Montreal the night before to watch the Canadiens. But they literally laid an egg.
Or they watched too much of the Canadiens and tried to emulate them.
Well, they literally laid an egg in this game. It was barred maybe one of the worst performances I've seen this year.
Which is, I don't want to make excuses, but maybe the sticks are too tight. Maybe they're a little nervous because this is the road trip where a lot of the families are at, right? Yeah. This is the big one where I know they got some families scattered when they go to Shawinigan and Drummondville and stuff like that. But Blainville seems to be I think it was last year, you gave a stick tap to the fans and the families because it was so loud in there. And so maybe there was a bit of nerves coming in because, I mean, your family comes sporadically here to Moncton, but they don't see you on the road. You don't get to spend that extra time with them. So maybe that's in part of it. I don't know.
That game in Blainville last year, I'm pretty sure was a comeback win.
Yeah,
was it not?
So. Kalmakoff scored in overtime.
Yeah, they really put it on. They put their pedal to the metal to get back in that game. And this one, they were down and out after that. After they scored the first goal, it was as if they thought it was going to be handed to them. They thought it was going to be easy, and no game is easy. If you're taking a night off in junior hockey, doesn't matter if you're the top ranked team. You can lose to the 18th ranked team. You can't take your foot off the gas in any of these games.
So statistically, your mom is correct.
Yeah.
In 21 games, Moncton scored the first goal in 13 of them. And actually, no, I read that wrong. 13 games they've scored the first goal out of the 21. They're 6-7.
Mm-hmm. So it's they got to start playing. I mean, the good thing about this road trip, and let's I know we're gonna this whole recap's gonna be kind of convoluted here.
Yeah.
But on their last road trip, they'd lost the first 2 games, right?
Uh-huh.
And they won the third one.
Uh-huh.
And then they went on a little bit of a streak.
Yep.
So hopefully that's the same case here because, believe it or not, there is only 10 games left before the Christmas break.
Yeah.
And you want to look at it, it's a favorable schedule, in my opinion.
Yep. Rouen, Halifax, Victoriaville, Cape Breton, Bathurst, St. John, Cape Breton, Halifax, Bathurst. So really 2 games against Halifax, and we've split that series so far with Halifax.
Mm-hmm. What do you think? I mean, they kind of have to go on a bit of a streak, I think, because, I mean, sure, they're what, 6th overall in the league or something like that at this point.
But I just don't like looking at. I wish the Q, and I know the Wildcats put it up sometimes. Stop putting up the overall record. The Q goes Eastern Western Conference, so they're third in the conference because they're second in the division, but they're also tied for that third spot with I believe it's Bacomo at 23 points, I believe, right?
So they're currently currently 7th overall in the league.
Yeah.
Okay. But at the same time, they're only 5 points away from being 17th overall. So there's not much room to work with here.
No.
I mean, that's what I mean. Like, they've got to go on a streak after this, because if we almost think like this team is good enough to win a playoff round, but right now they're not playing like they're good enough to win a playoff round.
No.
So they've got to do something about it, and it needs to be addressed. The goaltending needs to be addressed. There's one goaltender that's playing really well, and one goaltender that's not playing really well.
Yeah.
And they're still splitting the starts. And I don't like how they're doing that, because there's one goalie who is starting, he's still getting his fair share of starts and not doing anything to help his team win.
Mm-hmm.
And there's one goalie who's doing everything he can to help his team win. If you're giving your team an opportunity to win, you should be the goalie that's starting these games.
Yeah. And
I don't know what the problem is, because it happened last year where there was one goalie that took the charge and gave his team a chance to win, and that goalie got the majority of the starts.
Yeah.
And I think the organization is starting to realize that they paid they
premium price.
Well, they didn't pay a premium.
He was a big part of the package.
Yes, a big part of the package was acquiring said goaltender.
Mm-hmm.
And they're seeing that, okay, well, he's in his third year now. He should be where he should be developmentally, but he's not. And so I'm not giving up on said goaltender. We're not going to say names here, because we don't want to, we're being nice as we can.
Yeah.
But said goaltender maybe needs to back up for a couple games, refresh his mind, watch some hockey, pick up some pointers.
Yeah.
Right? These are going to be games coming up against majority of the teams you're familiar with. You've seen them a lot. You'll pick up some tendencies from these teams, and hopefully that builds up a bit of confidence going into the second half.
Yeah.
I think number one needs to be the number one at this point of the season, because he is playing that role.
Yeah.
And maybe the other goaltender, like I said, the other goalie needs to take a couple nights off and, refresh the mind. Not saying watch a game from the stands, because that results in us having to use an AP. An AP.
Yeah, and that helps no one really.
Nope. But number one needs to be the number one for the next few games until the other goalie can get the slightest bit of confidence back in his game.
Yep. And it's a favorable schedule, and it's kind of a catch-22 on the favorable schedule, because it's favorable to the fact that they could theoretically go 8-2. They could go 7-3. That's going to make them look really good, but is that a mirage coming into the deadline? Because right now, I mean, with how good they were in October, we're looking at modifying to help this team. Well, you look at November, now it's how you really have to take an honest look at who you want here, and, you have to figure it out, because it doesn't matter what the fans want, what they see, and the players they want here. You're not building for a championship this year. You're building for a championship in 2 years. And, we've talked about the amount of depth on this team, and, Alexi Daniel talked about how tight this group was, and we had two players. I mean, one was injury, one was family, but I mean, they came back, and I'm not blaming said players, but it felt like there was a different dynamic in the room when you have different lines and different things, and the locker room is a fiscal thing, and if it's really going well, you kind of want to leave it alone, and then the Drummondville game, I think, like, you had to make changes after that game because you were putting the same lines out and you were having negative results coming in November. They switched things up in Bathurst against Bathurst and they won. So it's like, I don't know what Mr. Ritchie's looking at from this group, because if they go 7-3, well, if the 3 losses are against Rennes and 2 against Halifax, well, did you just beat up on bad teams because you're supposed to? Or, you know what I mean? Like, they almost have to split the Halifax series to get a real good gauge on what this team's going to look like come Christmas, because if they go 3-7, well, now you really have to evaluate what you're doing with this club and why the rails have fallen off in the month of November and December, because that'd be 6 wins in 17, 18 games or something like that. Like that, and that's where this team is right now. You're proving to be here next season and be part of the future kind of in these next 10 games, which is really funny to say for a team that's 11-9, 23 points, 3rd in the conference, 7th in the league, but also 5 points from 17th. Mm-hmm. So it's a prove it 10 games, and it starts this Friday with Rouyn-Noranda.
Mm-hmm. And I want to go back to my goalie point. Somebody's listening to this show and they're probably going to say, well, Jeremy, how can you say that about one of the goalies? The goalie won the game on Saturday against Val-d'Or.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, he won the game. But he let in 3 goals on 15 shots, and his only shot faced in the 3rd period was a goal.
Yeah. No, it was a rocket off the draw, but
still,
it was off the draw and it was from the point.
Yeah. Go back to that game against Blainville. I mean, I don't even want to pull up how many goals were let in on how many shots. I don't even want to look at it right now.
Yeah.
Because and people say, well, your number one point doesn't make sense because your number one was the losing goaltender against Val-d'Or, against Rouyn. Well, he gave him a chance to win, right?
Yeah.
That's what. It doesn't matter if you win or lose. Like it's how you play the game, right? Sorry, but who am I quoting here? That's
you play to win the game is Herm Edwards.
Yes.
You
right?
play to win the game.
You play to win the game, but at the same time, you want to have a chance to win the game. And there's a certain goalie right now that's not giving this team a chance to win.
Yeah.
And
which he was in December.
Mm-hmm.
He was letting the one in, but it was not affecting him. And I, I've said a couple of times, there's a big difference from being the backup and sitting behind 220s back-to-back years, mm-hmm. and then being expected to go 40 out of 60 games.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if that's whatever it was, picking up 2 20-year-olds and not just Victoria Pill is literally Gabriel Degg. There you go.
Yeah.
Cape Breton, Ruccia, learn to play. Like, you got to let these guys take the losses, and these are losses we should have had in year 1, mm-hmm. where it's 6-5 goals, and then he gets familiar with it. But it's just, he had it in October. It's just something, and maybe he'll flip it around come December and be just fine and go on a tear. But yeah, these guys right now are kind of letting the GM know what the decision is and where it lies.
It's making jobs easier.
Yep.
Like, it's making a job, because right now, like, if you lose, 3 out of these 3, if you lose 7 of these next 10, guaranteed your approach at the trade deadline is going to be different.
Yep.
Because if you lose, if that's the case, I mean, Charlottetown, they're going to pass Moncton.
Yeah.
And a lot of us had Charlottetown as one of the bottom feeders in this division.
Yeah.
Frankie LaPena is literally saving that team this year.
Yeah.
But he's going to be traded. Like, it's Charlottetown's a 500 team. Moncton's 548. Literally, there's only 1 point that separates these two teams right now. When I think at the start of the season, we probably expected that to be a double-digit difference.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that's it goes back to my point earlier that I said, no game in this league is easy, and Charlottetown will come at you for 60 minutes. They never take a night off, and Moncton needs to get to that same mentality, or they're in trouble.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Like
and
that's they're in trouble if they don't start playing 60-minute hockey.
Yeah, and the first one after a road trip is generally the toughest, especially the longest road trip and then not playing for a week. So I just want to see a consistent effort against Rouyn-Noranda. Hopefully we get a point. 2 would be awesome, but I just want to see a consistent effort. I think said goalie will get the chance. Actually, they might go with the other goalie because said goalie played in Rouyn-Noranda and they lost. So they might go with the other one, but I mean, neither goalie was really good against Halifax. But yeah, I want to see a consistent effort, and it was good to see Darcy back. But again, I know he was playing with Iasenza, which means Iasenza isn't playing with Hamel, and maybe you move Hamel down to play with other guys, kind of bring them along. But it's a big 10 games for the future of the franchise, and I try to not stay on the fence as I can, but not just players. It's a Big 10 games for the guy making the decisions on the bench, right?
So let's see. So you're 10 games before the Christmas break.
Yeah.
And then you're 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 15 games from the trade deadline. Because the trade deadline will be on January the 9th.
Oh, the end of it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're 15 games away from the trade deadline, and you are just above a 500 team, where I think we expected this team to probably be in the 600 to 650 win range at this point.
Yeah.
And they're not. So like I said, from now until January the 6th, the 8th, that's the 8th at 4 p.m. against Charlottetown, there better be some.
And of those 15, 4 are against teams that are better in the standings than Moncton.
There you go.
And that's 2 against Halifax, Victoriaville, Rouyn-Noranda. We won't get into it this week, but God, I hope we get to see Gabriel Dagg in his only appearance here.
Just celebrated his 16th birthday on Monday.
So he's no longer a 15-year-old in the league. So yeah, no, it's a very tumultuous time for the franchise because this is the quote unquote turning point. I think they thought they'd be a little bit better than they are, but a slide in November, you win 1 of every 3, which we have for about a month after winning 2 of every 3. Things aren't going well, so it's a big weekend for.
It's tight up there.
Yep. All right, so looking ahead to Friday's game, you want to do special guest number 2?
Yes.
All
Let's
right.
bring him in.
Let's bring him in. Let's get to the view from the other bench.
View from the other bench.
All right, he was our keeper last year, going 11-7. He was dealt at Christmas to St. John in that mega deal, and he was a steady force between the pipes on their stretch run, going 18-2. He's now guiding the Rouyn-Noranda Huskies, who we will see this Friday. And by the way, I don't know if you know, he is a Memorial Cup champion. It is Thomas Couture joining us on the show. Thomas, how are you?
Good. How about you guys?
Oh, not too
good.
bad after that L that you gave us on Friday, but we're getting better.
Before we start firing off the questions here, Thomas, obviously this is your opportunity to come at Adam because of his little off the walls, off the rails Memorial Cup prediction. I
had nothing to do with it.
Myself, who obviously do not like St. John, I predicted St. John to win the Memorial Cup, and Adam said that you guys would go 0-3.
Yeah, 0-3.
So here's your chance, Thomas. Anything you like to say to Adam on the podcast?
Well, I just know who knows hockey better than the duo now.
Yeah, no, that's 100% fair. When I came up with that, I actually was in Europe for some medical things, so I didn't even watch. I think I watched 2 periods of the game just because of the time difference, and I woke up on June 29th, the night after, and I was like, 150 likes, pictures worth 1,000 words. I know who won the Memorial Cup. So yeah, no, it's it's something that I'm sure you enjoyed, eh? Not the actual Memorial Cup,
I
taking a shot at me.
I remember when you posted it right away. I was like, oh, if I win, I have to do it. Oh, I have to do it and put it back in his teeth and
You
make sure to.
You screenshotted that tweet and had it saved on your phone.
You had that bookmark, didn't you?
Oh, I had a couple tweets and couple Facebook comments in my head when we took that cup. So yeah, I had to. Sorry, I had to give it to you, but
hey, that's you earned it, right? That's part of the gig. I went a hot take. You guys earned it. So again, congratulations on not only the picture to make me eat my words, but also on winning the Memorial Cup. Let's get into some interview here.
I guess I can't think of a player in the league that's had a crazier 15 months than you. I mean, if you look at it, it was probably August of 2020 that you came to camp with Moncton and made the team, and then 4 or 5 months after that you're being traded to St. John. Like what's the last 15 months been like for you? It must be like a roller coaster of emotions.
Oh, it's been absolutely crazy. Like every month, like something new happens, and you're just like, wow, what is going on here? Every month, I just remember even against the Wildcats this weekend. I just remember looking at my jersey and be like, I really am here. Like I'm playing my 20-year-old year and still playing in this league, and I'm making saves, and I was still sometimes I'd have to pinch myself, I guess, and it's just it's been crazy from just getting an invite to camp to getting traded twice to winning the Memorial Cup in my first year. So yeah, it's been hectic but perfect at the same time.
So I think one of the not weird, but one of the odd things we saw last year is obviously after the trade, usually goalies get new gear and they get new lids, and you're wearing your Moncton lid for a lot of the time in St. John, and people around us are kind of mentioning that, and I'm like, I don't know, man. Goalies are weird. Maybe he's got a good thing going. I mean, he's playing really well for St. John, but just talk about the Moncton lid in the Sea Dogs gear, because I'm sure there was a few that weren't loving that, fans of St. John, but it wasn't because you were on a good run. There was an actual reason for it, correct?
Yeah, there was a reason. So basically, Bauer messed up in my order, and they sent a small helmet to get painted. And then when I got it, we realized it was way too small for my cheeks, and they were overflowing the helmet. So had to order a new one, and it just was back order. So I got it super late, and then in time to get him painted, I just got it before the Mem Cup. So that was a crazy thing too.
Let's talk about your time in Rouen. You obviously got traded at the draft. How's your time been with the Huskies, and how's your relationship with Kyle Hagen? Because funny enough, we actually on his draft night we had Kyle Hagen on our show. So how's
really?
Yeah, we had him on our live.
Yeah, on our Facebook Live, he jumped on after he was picked by Rimouski at the time. How's your relationship with Kyle?
Well, Kyle is first of all, he's a great goalie. He has a lot of potential, and he's in love with the game. He's a student of the game, and you got to respect him for all the hard work he puts in on and off the ice. And I think he's going to be great in the league, and he already is pretty good. So I think the Huskies are going to be good in net for a couple of years. That's for sure.
So you guys are coming here. You're making the New Brunswick trip this weekend. So obviously you had success against us last Friday, which, I mean, we want you to have all the success in the world except against us. But obviously that wasn't the case on Friday. I mean, I know you might not know, but are you kind of, like, hey, Coach, I'd like to play in Moncton and St. John. I mean, what does that mean to you to come back to be playing in Moncton, and then you probably going to get your ring or part of a little ceremony there in St. John? Just, are you hoping to at least get those 2 games, or do you just, whatever's best for the team?
Well, first of all, I've been circling these 2 games since the start of the year, like playing in the Avenir Center and just seeing my old teammate that I saw last week. Friday, like you said, was great, and I can't wait to be back and just be in the city I fell in love with the Maritimes last year, and every trip coming back is pretty sick. And no, for sure, I look forward to just being in the TD station and the Abner Center. And like you said, I'll just wait and see what coach tells me to do, and we'll see. But for sure, I'd love to play every game. So I guess for sure I'd like to play those 2 games.
Do you have your Memorial Cup ring, or are you hoping to get it when you get to, like, did they ship it to you, or are you hoping to get it in St. John?
I hope to get it in St. John, but
Okay.
I'm not sure they've gotten it yet either.
Okay,
so.
I wasn't sure if they'd been to Rouen yet, if you got it then, or if it was something they do at
No.
home.
So I think
No, that'll be my first time seeing these guys back. So
Okay.
I think you're the first player from Rouen that we have on our show. I've always
Can
heard
confirm.
yeah, perfect. I've always heard Rouen is a great place. Because they have they've got that English high school that can be such an attractive thing for maritime players or even players from Atlantic, as your head coach is from Newfoundland, right? So what makes Rouen such an attractive market for maritime players and I guess English-speaking players? Is it because they have that high school?
I'm not sure. I think it's just the culture here. Everybody is so well. Like, it's a great city. For people are very nice here, and they all welcome the players very well. And I think they're treated perfectly. For them to, like, it's pretty far for guys from the Maritimes to come here for sure. So I feel like they just make them feel at home, and I don't know, take care of them like the best they can. And I think the guys from the Maritimes actually love it here. So yeah.
And another thing I want to bring up is, I've never been to Rouyn-Noranda, so it's not on my upcoming vacation list,
No.
but maybe I'll get there someday. But we've had some people on the show that have said that the poutine at the restaurant across from the arena is very good. Can you confirm?
I can confirm. It is pretty good, and it's pretty cheap too, so that's always good.
What is it? Is it what's it called?
Moras.
Moras, that's it. Okay, yeah, there we go. So if anybody traveling through Rouyn-Noranda on your way to northern Ontario, you're gonna have to make a stop at Moras across from the I forget what the rink is called there. It changes every year by the sounds of it, but here you go. We've got
It's the Arena Gold, isn't
is
it?
it I Am Gold or is it Glencore now?
No, it's Glencore.
Glencore, that's it.
okay.
Yeah. So we have confirmation that the poutine across the street from
All
the
right.
rink is very good.
So that means we have to at least. That means we got to make a trip up there at least one time. Do you have a favorite? Do you have a favorite one there?
I just tasted the classic one, but I've seen there's multiple flavors. I think there's a General Tao kind of poutine and stuff, and I don't know. Just take the big one. I think it's $11, and you can feed probably 4 families with that. So
Oh, jeez. 4 families, so that's one person for me.
yeah.
That's wow, that's impressive. So speaking of families, we don't want to keep you too much longer, but we usually do this with players. We just give them the floor, and especially former Wildcats. We'll just give you the floor just to kind of talk about the fans and your billets that were here that I've talked to, because they're going through some things, some of the same things we are. So I've connected with them, and I know they were in the Nova Scotia part of your trip there. So just the floor is yours to talk about the fans in Moncton and maybe your billets.
Well, the fans in Moncton were great. Honestly, I remember the first time I saw my jersey in the stand, and it was pretty crazy. The blue one too, so I know it was expensive. And I swear every time I go, and they send me a picture of that guy with my jersey on, and I keep in touch with them, and they bake me cookies every time my billets. They bake me cookies every time they see me, and no, they were great for me, and they made me feel a part of their family with their dog. And like I said, we still keep in touch, and they were at my Memorial Cup game, and they came on the ice with me and took pictures, so that was always good too. So yeah, I just like I said, I love the Maritimes, and I love my time there, and love my former teammates and coaches and things. So yeah, I'm very excited to be back, and can't wait to see all my people down there.
Perfect, man. Well, we thank you for jumping on with us and giving us some time before you guys head out. I'm guessing you're going to head out on Tuesday or Wednesday?
Wednesday, yeah.
Wednesday. So by the time this comes out, you'll be on the road. So we really appreciate you taking the time to chat with us, and obviously we hope you have success. And maybe we'll go to overtime on Friday, so we at least get a point against you. Is that cool? Can we make that happen?
I don't know.
All right, man.
We'll see.
Perfect. Well, we also want to congratulate you on being the goaltender of the week in the queue, man. We like I said, all the success to you this season. Just let us get a point on Friday. That'd be cool. That's fair, right?
I don't know.
All right. Thanks, Thomas.
All right. See you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
You want to get into everyone's favorite part of the show?
Yes, please.
Eric Murray, Realtor. Buy your house from him. Stick Tap of the Week.
All right. So before I get into it, on the topic of Eric Murray.
Yep.
If you got any listeners out there that are from Irishtown or Indian Mountain or Stylesville or that Maple Hills area, which is what it's being amalgamated. Next Monday, 28th, our boy Eric Murray is running for, I believe, a counselor position.
Yep.
So he's on the ballot, and so you can go and vote at the Irishtown Community Center next Monday. We really want to see Eric get this, because as I said in his Facebook page, I said, "You've got my vote if you promise to bring a Junior A team to Irishtown."
To which he replied,
"I don't want to raise taxes that much." So. I think we can accept the tax increase, if it's front loaded.
Yep.
Because I think a Junior A team in Irishtown will be profitable, especially if they can somehow team up to be the farm team of the Wildcats.
Yeah.
Because then you're going into the beautiful Maple Hills, New Brunswick.
Yeah.
Beautiful drive out there, and all jokes aside, we will never see a Junior A hockey team in Maple Hills, New Brunswick. Let's put it that way.
But there's a chance.
There's a small chance because we need like a 1,500 square foot arena or 1,500 seat arena, and I don't think we've got the land for it. But back on topic here. Stick Tap of the Week. These two gentlemen are usually the ones who do their own sort of recognition.
Yep.
If you listen to them on New Country 969 in the mornings, they're usually giving a tip of the giant foam cowboy hat.
Salute.
So this week's Stick Tap is going to Tony Smith and Scotty Horseman. I think the longest running radio duo that I can remember, in Moncton for sure, possibly even Atlantic Canada. These guys have been together forever, and their work that they do, not only on the radio but in the community. They're at the Stuff a Bus every year. They're at the
Friends of the Moncton Hospital. The marathon on the radio.
Tony's always DJing the bodybuilding competitions, right? And these guys are finally getting recognized with, I got to tell you, quite an award. This is the Queen Elizabeth's Platinum Jubilee Medal, which will be presented to Scotty and Tony at Crandall University. Coming, I'm not sure when the ceremony is, but that is quite the award. It was presented to them this Monday morning on the radio from Ernie Steves, who's the Minister of Finance here in New Brunswick, former radio guy himself on C103. Ironic how you can go from a radio host to a Minister of Finance for a province, but that's politics, and we don't get into that.
Sure don't.
But congratulations, gentlemen. That's a huge recognition, huge award. You know what? I think there's only one award that's that you can possibly get better than the Platinum Jubilee Award, and that's the Stick Tap of the Week on the Wildcast podcast. So here you are getting both of them. Congratulations, gentlemen. Very well deserved.
The Stick Tap of the Week, sponsored by Eric Murray Real Estate with the RE/MAX Avante team. If you're looking to buy or sell a home in the Greater Moncton or surrounding area, make sure to check him out on social media or give him a call at 506-863-8802.
Well
You going to the parade this weekend?
Santa Claus parade?
Yeah.
When is it? Saturday?
Saturday night. Santa's coming.
Nice. I think it's a Stuff a Bus weekend too.
It is a busy weekend.
Yeah, it's a busy weekend.
We got a game Friday. We got the.
We should find out if we can. You and I go down there live. Maybe if you donate a couple toys, you might be in to win 2 tickets to the teddy bear toss game.
Oh,
that might be something.
I gotta get a teddy bear too.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
All right.
Yeah. Hey,
Friday hockey game, Saturday parade. Yeah. I'm in.
Sunday
teddy bear toss. What a weekend. That brings us to the Wildcast Wildcat of the Week, presented by Rosemary Lynn Massage and Spa, who has a Black Friday deal coming up this Friday only. Purchase a $100 gift card, and you will receive a manicure gift certificate for free. So to either purchase that gift card or book an appointment, call 506-830-1224 or visit them at 1224 Mountain Road. I mean, I talked about this duo last week. The streak was broken, unfortunately, for, both of them after that Blainville game. But, they're driving the bus right now as much as they can offensively. And it's pretty tough to go anywhere else but these two. So I went with LaBelle last week. This week I'm going to go with his line mate, Loshing. The Wildcats went with both of them again, as he had goals in back-to-back games against Rouyn-Noranda and Val-d'Or, as well as had an assist. So a 3-point week for him. Your Wildcats Wildcat of the Week goes to number 18, Jon Loshing. That'll do it again for this week. Again, a little bit of a longer episode, but hey, we got a couple guests for you. Thanks to our guests, Braden Olofsson from Puck Preps, as well as the goaltender for this, Couture. The goaltender of the Rouyn-Noranda Huskies, Thomas Couture, for not only throwing the Memorial Cup in my face, but also taking the time to join us as they get ready to come to the Avenir Center this weekend, which, again, they're here. The Wildcats are at the Avenir Center this Friday against Rouyn-Noranda, and again, November 27th, which is the Teddy Bear Toss game day. We've got still 2 tickets to give away. There's been a couple entries on the Instagram, but guys, it's really easy. Just go on Twitter, take a picture of your kid with a teddy bear, take a picture of yourself with a teddy bear. Everyone's got one. Tag us on.
I want to take a picture with you, Adam, because you're my teddy bear.
Oh, I love it. You might win the tickets. Tag us on Instagram story or a post. Tag us on Twitter. It doesn't matter how you tag us. Facebook, I don't even care. You'll be entered for a draw to 2 tickets. If you are a season ticket holder and you can't go, give your tickets to somebody. If you want to donate them to us, let me know via DM. Let Jeremy know, and we'll give those tickets away. We got to fill this rink. We're going to be promoting this thing all week, so please get tickets to this one. It is always a special game. And like you said, the Stuff a Bus, I think, is this weekend. So if you have time, get out and stuff a bus for the Stick Tap of the Week. Scotty and Tony, as they're going to be out there, probably in the cold, I would imagine, doing great things all the time. And then the Santa Claus Parade, you don't want to miss it because, it's freaking Santa Claus. Santa! And hey, this might be the time we ask him if we can get him on the show.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's generally when we talk to him, right?
That's right, yeah. It's
coming up. We'll see if he's got time to jump on the show with us. But anyways, have a good weekend this weekend, and we'll see you guys next week.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Wildcast Podcast. Follow us on social media at Moncton Wildcast.